And we're back.
We're back.
What do you want to do first?
I want to do what I never saw Jack Bauer do. Eat a delicious meal.
Jack Bauer?
From the TV show, 24?
Not ringing any bells.
It ran a bunch of seasons. Each season had 24 episodes.
Why 24?
You seriously don't know? It was an episode for each hour. Each season would be a day in the life of Jack Bauer when he had to save the president or protect the U.S. from terrorists or rescue his daughter who had been kidnapped.
So like each hour of the day. So all through the night too? He didn't get to sleep at all?
No, maybe he took a nap once or twice, but the point was it took him the whole day to find and catch the bad guys.
That's pretty wild. Though 24 is a lame name. They should have called it A Day in the Life of Jack, or When Day Turns into Night, or something witty like that.
What do you mean? 24 was the perfect name. It said exactly... Wait a minute, you fucking with me? Did you get me again?
Yeah, boy. That was more of a long con fucking, but still got you good. I love me some Jack Bauer. Though, kinda wish he would have tortured people less to get what he wanted. It was his go-to thing, since he was on a deadline, like, all the time.
Yeah, that part was kinda messed up. But you never got to see him take a break and drink a cup of coffee or eat a sandwich or even grab a fast food burger or something.
God, I've missed this, Jake. And I've missed you.
Me too. Though more with missing you and not with missing myself. You know what I mean?
I know, Jake. I totally do. I also want to sleep for like 1,000,000 hours.
Me too. Do you think it's night or day right now?
No fucking clue. We couldn't tell in Ostium, could we? With the whole untethered thing still in effect.
Yeah, endless night and all that. I think it's daytime here right now.
Well, I think it's the dead of night. Just to be opposite to you. Let's go find out.
Right behind you. You called it.
Call it a woman's intuition.
Really?
Fuck no.
Do you want to check on Steve first?
You know, this is going to make me sound like a bad mom. But I'm fucking wiped. I just want to sleep. I know Steve would love seeing us, and we'd love it too, but I'm just so ready to crash, it's not even funny. We'll have our big old reunion in the morning over a big, hearty breakfast. Okay?
That sounds just great.
Last one in bed has to turn out the lights.
How do you have the energy to run? You know, we could ask Zhang for an update, just to make sure everything's okay here and we haven't missed anything.
Man, you're like Jiminy Cricket. Yes, we could do that. Actually, I'm going to sleep. You can do that. Night-night.
I'm sure everything's fine. We'll get the update in the morning.
Oh, man. That smells fucking amazing.
Did you say something, Monica?
I said that smells fucking amazing.
Wait till you see it. And good morning, by the way.
Good morning, hon. You're right. This looks fucking amazing too. Maybe more so than how it smells.
Told ya.
Is that real bacon and eggs?
With the Ostium Network's pantry, I can't really be sure either way. It looks right. How's it taste?
Fucking amazing.
Did you say something?
Fucking amazing.
I wonder if we should get the update from Zhang.
Nope, not yet. After breakfast. First, we eat. Oh, is that hash browns?
You betcha.
Is there any ketchup?
Well, there's a Ostium Network brand of red tomato sauce that appears to be the closest approximation of ketchup that's available to us.
Oh, and is that... Oh my god. Coffee!
It's what gets us going in the morning, right?
I love you, Jake.
I love you too, Monica.
Okay. Now I'm ready. Wait. Is Zhang actually there?
I guess we'll find out. Zhang, is there anybody out there?
I am, of course, here for whatever the two of you might need.
Phew. Got a little worried there.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Zhang. Did you miss us?
I am an artificial intelligence. It is impossible for me to possess human emotions.
Oh, sorry. I just thought that... Wait a minute. Are you making a joke?
Perhaps. I believe Monica has a way of eloquently putting it.
I'm just fucking with you, Jake.
Damn, that's harsh.
I apologize, Jake. I'm sure you two have been through a lot to get back to the Ostium network. It was unfair of me to make that joke.
No, I think it was warranted.
So, what have we missed?
Where would you like me to begin? I have a total of 9 days, 16 hours, 42 minutes, and 15 seconds to cover.
How about you let me know what Steve's been up to?
Would you like me to begin from the moment the two of you were no longer in the Ostium network?
How about you just cover the highlights? Actually, where the hell is my boy?
Right. He could just tell us what he's been up to.
Steve is no longer in the Ostium network.
What?
Maybe they're not clear about what we mean. Zhang, where is Steve on the island of Gibraltar right now?
As I said, he is no longer located on the island of Gibraltar, nor within the borders of the Ostium network.
Well, where the fuck is he then?
I do not know where Steve is currently located.
Hang on, Monica. Let's get all the details first before we jump to any dangerous conclusions.
Okay. Deep breaths, Monica.
What happened to Steve, Zhang? How did he disappear from the Ostium network?
While the two of you were absent, Steve embarked upon a thorough investigation of the island, from the highest point to circulating the entire island. He then began investigating the anomalies in some of the rooms on the island.
Anomalies?
Oh, shit.
When Jake and Steve first arrived at the Ostium network and began their search of the buildings, they found 3 unexplainable anomalies. A shower room where there was dripping water that sounded as if it was making the sound of the notes to the song Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. A second room where there was a pyramidal stack of chairs that had been fused into one whole conglomeration. And a third room
where everything had been cleared and there was a giant pentagram in the center of the room.
Correct, created with a type of white chalk.
You never mentioned any of this weird shit.
It was in the recordings. You probably listened to them, but don't remember. We've all just had so damn much going on.
Zhang, do you know how each of these anomalies happened?
I do not.
What does that mean? Do you have no record of them? How's that possible? You've got like 1 billion cameras around the island, seeing everything like Big Brother.
While it is a crude analogy, you are technically correct, Monica. However, when I searched my databanks for more information on how these anomalies occurred, there is simply no data, no record. I have an instance of when the anomalies did not exist, and then an instance of when they do exist. And that is all.
Well, that's fucking unsettling.
Zhang, can you give us an update when you have the anomalies showing up in your databanks?
I could give you an exact date, but since the concept of a calendar has become rather superfluous to each of you since you arrived at the Ostium network, I will give you a time before you, Jake, first arrived. One might even call it so much time before Jake, or BJ for short.
Please don't call it that.
Very well.
So how much time before my arrival did these anomalies occur?
3.2 milliseconds.
Fuck.
Oh, Jesus. Well, what the hell does that mean?
As I said before, since I do not possess any data on these anomalies, I cannot provide any further information as to their occurrence.
Jakey?
You're not gonna like my answer.
Do I usually?
That's not what you said last night.
Not the right fucking time, Jake.
Sorry, I think it's got something to do with me, obviously, and my connection to Ostium.
Fucking figures. Any other kernels of info you'd like to offer?
Sorry, not really. I still don't get what the deal is with me and Ostium.
Join the club. Okay, Zhang. So we've established that you, like us, know bupkiss about these anomalies. What stupid thing did my lovely son do to get his ass lost somewhere and somewhen?
Steve was actually impressively intelligent with what he did. He chose to conduct an experiment by bringing the 3 anomalies together.
How'd he manage to do that? Seems like impossible to me.
It took some deep thought on Steve's part, and he chose to enlist my aid in coming up with ideas, and together we arrived at the satisfactory solution. First, I directed him to a vacuuming device. Then, under my supervision, he collected all the powder that was used to make the pentagram in the 3rd room. At the same time, he placed a large, empty vessel in the shower room to collect the, shall we say, sonorous water droplets. Once he had collected all the powder and filled the vessel with the unique water, he brought them all to the 2nd room. There, he painstakingly and meticulously, again with my direction and help, recreated the pentagram on the floor of the room, around the stack of fused chairs, but also crawling between the metal legs to join the lines of the pentagram and make it a complete shape. He then instructed me to record what he did next, even though he knew full well that I am constantly recording all the events and motions of the Ostium network. He then climbed to the very top of the stack of the fused chairs with the water vessel and sat at the very pinnacle. He then, surprisingly, and I say this because I was not certain exactly what he was going to do, emptied the contents of the vessel over his head, completely saturating himself. He then proceeded to wait for something to happen.
Empirical to a T. That's my son.
Nothing appeared to happen for some time, but as the water that had saturated him trickled and splashed down onto the trees beneath him, as I mentioned, it was a rather large vessel with special water, the music began to emanate, as it did in the shower room, to the tune of Claire de Lune. Under the force of gravity, the water droplets made their way down the chairs and arms and legs until they reached the pentagram below. Once this occurred, some sort of charge began to build, a visible static electricity firing between the legs and metal parts of the chairs, rising up until they reached Steve. Then he promptly disappeared.
Oh my God. What the fuck did he do? Where the fuck did he go?
I gotta say, I'm pretty damn impressed. It's quite brilliant.
Okay, Mr. Impressed. How the fuck do we get him back?
I think you know the answer to that. We have two obvious choices.
You can both wait until he hopefully returns, much as he was doing for the two of you, until he decided to try this experiment.
Yes, that's one choice. Or option 2.
We repeat the experiment and go in after him.
Yep. Hey, Zhang, when exactly did Steve disappear? I guess you can say from the time that Monica and I got back, so BJM? BJM time?
Jake? No, Jake. No.
I could tell you, but I have a feeling if you think about it for a moment, you will be able to answer your own question.
No. No fucking way.
Would it happen to be 3.2 milliseconds before Monica and I arrived back at the Inception Chamber?
That is correct, Jake.
Wish I knew why Ostium gives a shit about me so much. That'll be fair. This was all on Steve. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
Do you really think that, Jake?
No, not for a second, Monica.
Well, at least we've got full stomachs. Let's go check out Steve's crazy scientist lab and see if we can recreate whatever crazy shit he did.
At least we got a bit of a break this time, before things go to hell again.
Huh. I guess. Okay, one more cup of coffee for the road. So, do you know where this building is?
My memory's a little hazy on the specifics.
I'd be happy to guide you, or you could enter Building 45 into one of your data pads.
Hey, Zhang. Forgot you're, like, always there.
Happy to be of service.
I'll plug it in my data pad. Thanks.
Happy to be of service.
Sure is creepy when they repeat themselves in exactly the same cadence.
Happy to be of service.
Okay, Zhang, good joke. You're starting to sound like Hal or some other AI gone bad.
Happy to be of... Apologies, Jake and Monica. Just a little joke. I'll leave you two to your travels. Drive safe.
I'll
give them safe travels. Right up the...
So the good news is we're going the right way.
At least that's something.
It should only take us 3 minutes and 42 seconds and counting, of course.
Of course.
Do you have a plan for how we're going to make this whole experiment happen, just like Steve did?
I've got a few ideas. Of course, we do have one big problem.
Just one? And what's that?
The way Zhang described it, there's only one place to sit at the apex of the creepy chair pyramid. Since you're one of the few people to actually see it, maybe you can corroborate this?
Yeah, we didn't see it for very long. It was just wrong. But to the best of my recollection, yeah, there was just one seat at the top.
So, how's that going to work exactly? We share the seat? One ass cheek each? I don't think Ostium likes to play nice, which means following the rules. The one cheek attempt ain't gonna cut it. What do you think?
No, you're totally right. So that means...
That means we have to go one at a time.
And we each have to do the experiment on our own in the same way that Steve did it.
Correctamundo.
Well, that's not so bad. You can go first. You know, ladies first. And I'll be ready to do it right after, and we'll both find out where Steve went.
Me first? Well, how polite and thoughtful of you. You know, you really shouldn't. I'd be happy to let you go first.
No, I'm happy going last.
Big shocker there. So if I get atomized or turned to fucking goo or something, you can just stroll out of the room like nothing happened.
Well, I'd be pretty broken up about it, if that helps.
Oh, sure. That makes me feel so much better.
Look, I'll go first if you want.
No, I'll go. Like you said, you can follow quickly behind and Ostium might give you a little boost. Or at least make sure you get to me and Steve quickly.
Huh.
Huh. What does huh mean?
I just thought, what if...
We don't end up in the same place as Steve? What if we get separated from him and from each other again?
Yeah, that.
Well, like before, he's my son. I will do fucking anything for him, to help him. So this is what I'm going to do.
And where you go, I go.
Thanks, Jakey. I appreciate you didn't hesitate or have second thoughts. Plus, we've done this before with the whole separation thing, and we found each other again, right?
Yeah, it took a while. Eventually we did.
None the worse for wear. And remember, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I disagree when it involves Ostium. Oh, jeez.
Who the hell is that?
Is that?
Yes, Thyra, from the distant planet of Albion. You have yet to be formally introduced. Let me do the honors.
You're alive.
You look so different, so well and healthy.
While I am certain you all know each other by name, I will still happily introduce you all, as it is something that I almost never get to do. Thyra, meet Jake and Monica. Jake and Monica, meet Thyra.
Monica, it is good to see you again, under much better circumstances. And Jake, good to finally meet you. I have heard so much about you.
How are you coping with everything?
Very well, thank you. Steve was very helpful in getting me back on my feet again. I was in a bad place when you first brought me back, but now, after doing my own recordings, telling my story and history, I am not only regaining my powers once more, slowly but surely, but also my health and sanity. I feel a different woman. Thanks in part to Steve, but more importantly, thanks to you two. You saved my life. When you could have chosen to attack me, even kill me, for all the havoc and terror I had wrought on all of you, I will be forever thankful to you for that. Forever in your debt.
I'm so happy to hear that. I knew when we found you, you seemed so confused and out of it, like you weren't even sure where you were, and that you'd been brought to Ostium against your will.
That is accurate. I'm not ready to share that part of my life yet. In time, yes, but not now.
When you're ready, and only if you want to.
Maybe one day you'll be ready to return to your home.
To Albion, yes, that would be lovely. I know it is very far away, but with the magics of Ostium, as well as my own abilities, I believe it is possible. One day, when I have fully regained my powers.
Oh shit, I completely forgot. Thyra, I found her.
Who do you mean?
One of the doors I went through when I was trying to find Jake. It took me to Albion, and I found Pragma, Thyra. I really did. I swear I'm telling you the truth.
My mind tells me not to believe, that it cannot be possible, but my heart says perhaps.
She says she misses you every day, every moment. Her heart is broken like yours, but she also has hope. Believes that one day you will come back to her.
Those are words she would use, my dear Pragma.
She also gave me a ring because I needed something to take back to Ostium to get both Jake and I back here. She said it was a ring from your first anniversary, a very special anniversary.
Please, describe it to me. This is something you could not know unless you have truly seen it for yourself.
Oh, it was beautiful. A sparkling silver color, really bright, that glittered in the sunlight. And there was a blue jewel, maybe sapphire? I'm not sure, with tiny lines of silver wrapping around the gem, as if it were...
Keeping it safe. Protected. Yes, that is it. You truly were in Albion, and you were with my love for a short while. But you speak like you no longer possess the ring?
No, I'm sorry.
We needed all the objects we brought back from the places we visited. We put them on the map table, and I guess with their magic, they brought us back to the Ostium network.
I see. It is a sad loss, but a worthy one, to be sure.
It might not be gone, at least not forever. We've never actually tried to find out what happens to the objects once they're absorbed into the map table.
That's true. Maybe it's like in Lost, where there's a pneumatic tube that takes them and spits them out.
Really?
Just a theory I have. One of many.
I guess it's possible. Fucking anything seems to be here.
So there is a chance?
I believe so, Thyra. Regardless, she is waiting for you. She has hope. You have hope. You two will be reunited one day. I promise it.
And we will do everything we can to make that happen.
Yes, that's a fucking promise.
This all sounds wonderful. I was seeking some sustenance to break my fast. Would you two be willing to join me in feasting?
Sorry, we've got another job to do.
Yes, we need to find out what happened to Steve.
He is truly gone, then?
Yes.
Did you know he would be leaving? Did he say something to you?
Only that he had a great big idea he wished to try and was unsure of its outcome, and that if I did not hear from him for some time, I should just be patient, that he would return, eventually, just like you did.
Sounds like my Steve.
I bet he'd tell us the same thing, to wait for him to come back.
And do you think I'm going to do that?
Not for a fucking second. We better get going.
I have confidence in you both. You are much experienced in the ways and traveling of Ostium. A fruitful journey to you two.
Thanks, Thyra. We'll be back soon, I'm sure. Keep the Ostium network safe and ready for our return.
I will do my best.
Man, that was fucking creepy. I don't know how you two made it through the first time.
It wasn't easy. Probably part of the reason I didn't want to talk about it that much either. Plus, we were seeing so much weird shit and just got filed away, and we tried our best to forget all about it. Well, at least I did. Apparently Steve was having some thoughts.
No kidding. I'm sure glad the music stopped once we got enough water into these vessels and got the fuck out of there. I was worried the music was going to keep on going since we're taking some of the water with us.
Yeah, I'm pretty confused by that. I'm trying not to let my brain dwell too much on the requirements and ramifications for how the water and the music work. You know, what the science is behind it all.
You're kidding, right, Jakey? This is the fucking Ostium network. The rules of science tend not to apply here sometimes. Or maybe that's most of the time.
I guess you're right, but I need science as my bedrock, my foundation to work out my theories, my hypotheses.
Any other science terms you want to throw in there, Buster? You haven't used empirical yet. That's a good one.
You're still going first, right?
Does someone want to change the subject? Yes, I'm still going first. You can relax.
Do you need help climbing up the chairs?
What do you think?
I choose not to answer.
Oh, really? I seem to remember someone trying to climb like some big stone statue and having some problems, and then plunging to what he thought was his death, and then a certain someone saving his ass.
I'd kind of forgotten about that. The Moai on Easter Island.
I bet you didn't forget what happened after.
No, I certainly remember that, in detail.
I'm sure you do. Here, you hold my canister while I start climbing, and then I'll have you hand it to me.
Sounds good. Here you go.
Okay, I'm at the top.
Looks good, Monica. Don't lose your balance. I don't know if I could catch you.
And I wouldn't want to find out. We'd probably have to test Thyra's first aid skills.
Yeah, I don't think her healing spells are ready to go yet.
Okay, you ready? You might want to step back a bit in case... Well, I don't know what might happen, but I wouldn't want you to get caught in any crossfire.
Will do.
Okay, here goes. This water's gonna be cold, isn't it?
Probably. Just think of Steve if that helps at all.
Right. It does, thanks. Oh, damn, that's fucking cold.
I bet. I'm not looking forward to it.
So, what do I do now? Do I have to say any special words? Fucking incantation or something?
I don't think so. Just wait for the water to trickle down and the music to start, and then be ready for something to happen.
Okay, Dr. Mad Scientist.
Hey, wasn't this your idea?
Yeah, well, Wait, I can hear something.
Wow, I guess it worked. She's gone, and now I'm standing here talking to myself. Great. I guess she's right. I am a mad scientist. Well, now it's my turn. Wow, I made it. I claimed this peak in the name of Ostium. Now, if only I had something to cool me down after that intense workout. Oh, what's that? A whole vessel of cold water? Sounds perfect. Damn, that's cold. That's definitely making me feel better. Okay, Jake, enough talking to yours truly. Let's be quiet and wait for the Ostium magic to happen. Oh, I think my ass is broken.
Oh, I think it's more than my ass.
My ass feels quite fine, actually. Thanks for asking.
Steve, you're back, man.
As are you two.
We're all back, safe and sound.
I'm not so sure about that. Jake, what happened to your clothes? Are those burn marks? Have a run-in with an anthropomorphic version of fire, did we?
Yeah, something like that. Why do you smell briny?
Yeah, it's a long story, mate. And Mum, you look...
Perfect as always.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
I was going to say ravishing as always.
That's fine, Jake, but she's my mum. Let's not make it weird, okay?
How about a group hug?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So, much like Doc Brown in Back to the Future 3 expressly told Marty McFly not to do, you guys repeated the experiment and followed me, didn't you?
Guilty.
Yeah, we had to. Your mom insisted, and we really wanted to get you back, man.
It's good to be wanted and cared for. So, since I didn't run into either of you where I was, I'm guessing you each ended up in your own unique places too then.
Well, I wasn't in the Old West, if that's what you're asking. Wondering if Buford Mad Dog Tannen was gonna shoot me over a matter of $80.
So, you consider yourself to be Doc Brown then? Interesting.
Well, your mom had just called me a mad scientist before she disappeared. Where'd you end up, Monica?
Oh, I actually was Marty McFly. I had to sing Billie Jean and do the whole moonwalk thing.
Really?
Fuck no, Jake. But I do kind of want to watch Back to the Future 3 now.
Ditto.
Me too, over a nice filling meal.
That sounds perfect. I'm offering to cook.
Fantastic. Is the limousine ready to take us up to the Michelin-starred restaurant?
It certainly is. Your chauffeur awaits.
Wonderful. Oh, wait a tick. Zhang, are you there?
Of course, Steve. It is very good to have you back.
That's all I wanted to know. It's very good to be back, Zhang. And good to have you nearby. I missed hearing your calming voice.
And I yours, Steve.
Good. Let's get going then.
I'm still not sure about the ramifications and potentiality of a steam-powered time machine. I just don't know if it's got enough juice.
But I'm sure the doc built it on the same premise as the DeLorean. He just needs to get it up to 88 miles an hour, and he can go to whenever he wants.
Yeah, but he still needs that 1.21 gigawatts of electricity to get generated. He used plutonium for that before. What's he using now?
Obviously, the steam gets him up to that speed, and he has some sort of special element, some unobtainium perhaps, to get the flux capacitor going and all that.
Well, as far as I know, they never made it Back to the Future 4, so we'll never know. I even checked the Ostium Network movie library. No luck.
Ah, but there was plenty of fan fiction, you see, and the theories that were explored in those stories go into an impressive amount of detail.
Were you the author of any of these fanfics?
Possibly. Quite possibly, Jake.
Any new romances that weren't explored by the 3 movies?
You know, I was going to tell you I wrote a Doc Brown Marty McFly slash, just to see the look on your face. And there it is. Completely worth it. No, I did not write any slash fic, though I did try my hand at Marty having a little tumble with his mum back in the 50s, if you catch my drift.
But what about the space-time continuum? Marty's mom has to be with Marty's dad, otherwise Marty never exists.
This is fanfic, mate. Anything can happen. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to worry about the bloody space-time continuum.
Well, I'm not sure it's my cup of tea then.
Perfect segue. Guys, drop it. The movie's over. You can continue this in-depth and oh-so-beneficial discussion another time. Who wants coffee?
I'd love a cup.
Me too, Mum.
And I made plenty because we're going to need it.
For what?
I'm guessing Mum wants to hear what adventures I've been up to while she's been gone.
That's right, and I want to know where the hell you went when you did your experiment. And I want to know where you went too, Jake.
I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
I really hope that's not code for something.
Definitely
Maybe.
not.
Who's going to go first then?
Not me. I'm going after Jake.
I guess that makes sense.
Oh, fine. I'll go first. I need to catch you up on what I've been up to anyway. Here at the Ostium Network, and why I did the experiment and all that. And then I'll tell you about where I ended up.
It sounds good, Steve, and I'll tell you my story and Monica can go last.
Works for me. This is going to take a while, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Zhang, what time is it?
While time is relative and its passage and importance seems barely significant within the current confines of the Ostium network, I can tell you that it is 15:05.
15?
3:05.
I know, I was just messing with you.
Well played, Jakey.
So we've still got lots of time then, depending on our energy levels. How about we go till 6, then have dinner, then resume after till I either finish my story or feel like I can't say another word without collapsing, and resume things in the morning.
Sounds good to me. And I can keep the coffee going as needed.
Wait a second, just let me get comfortable. Okay, there we go. You can start now, Steve.
Fuck you, Jake.
Love you too, Monica.
Gosh, I've really missed you guys. Okay, so let me begin with when you had Thyra make that door for your mum, and then you went chasing after Jake. She seemed barely alive after that.
I'm sure. I still feel really bad about it. But I just didn't know what else to do. I had to go after Jake.
I know, Mum. All's forgiven. Thyra's doing much better now, with her health back. So that's settled. Anyway, once I got her all sorted making her recordings and telling her history, which you can listen to, by the way. Thyra's been uploading them and I've been giving them a listen. Fantastic stuff. Really moving. All about how they thought Albion was created and how she became one of the Circe. But that's not the story I'm telling here. So there I was, basically on my own. Thyra off doing her thing. You guys going through various doors, presumably, and...
We have our recordings too, by the way, Steve. Right, Monica?
Yep. Kept mine going the whole time. Every place I went to, I wanted to have a record of.
Zhang, do you have all those recordings that Jake and Monica got?
That is correct, Steve.
Fantastic. I'll give those a listen once we're all done here. So there was me and Zhang, chatting back and forth, and I started thinking I needed to have a check on the Ostium network. Know what the extent of the island was, whether there was anything to see at the water's edge, but also at the highest peak. So I worked out a plan. I'm back, baby. Oh, God. I really regret saying that. And once again, I know full well I could just edit this shit out so it sounds all nice and clean, but if you're listening to the 12th installment of Enigmatic Mysteries of the Unknown, then it probably means you've lent your ears to the previous 11, and I very much thank you for that. I've had my ups and downs, my ins and outs, but I made it through. By the skin of my proverbial teeth in some cases. Many thanks in part due to the wonderful Jake Fisher, and of course, by no means least, my dear loving mother, Monica Chase, whom I have since been reunited with, and any previous hurts and wrongs have been healed. All is forgiven, as the saying goes. Of course, if you're also caught up with all the Ostium installments, then you know everything that's happened with regards to the Ostium network. How we ended up on the Rock of Gibraltar, permanently so to speak. How things were just grand when we were all reunited and it felt like things were really starting to settle down. And then the weird shit began to happen. Sorry. Sorry for the swearing. I know. In many, if not all of the previous installments of Enigmatic Mystery of the Unknown, I swear my bloody head off, but after talking and listening to my mum for a number of days, I'll just say I'm trying to keep things cleaner, shall we say, for now. Not really sure why I'm bothering. It's not like I'm seeking a specific parental guidance rating or anything like that. Call it a New Year's resolution or something. Not that I have any clue what day of the month it is, or even year for that matter. I know I could easily ask Zhang and get an answer, but I'm blissfully, ignorantly choosing not to. And don't worry, I'll get to Zhang in due course. Where was I? Oh yes, thinking things were going to be okay for a bit. Let the dust settle and all that. Should have taken it all as one big warning sign. Again, if you've listened to the Ostium recordings from Jake and Monica, then you already know all this. And you know that Jake is gone, as is my mum. Once again, I was pissed off at first. Very PO'd, in fact. But I also knew neither of them were coming back anytime soon. So I stewed and simmered and mentally did various other cooking techniques that involve heat for a few days, and then came out of it on the other side sort of understanding. Something happened to Jake. I'm not exactly sure what, but he's gone. My mum loves him with all her heart. Whether she loves him more than me is something I never intend to ask her, and I just don't want to know the answer. But I understand why she went after him. I may not be happy with it, but I comprehend her intentions, and I'm also fully confident she won't give up until she finds him. And I know full well when she finds him, she'll drag his ass all the way back to the Ostium network. And he will love her all the more for it. I've gotten some answers from Thyra. If you've listened to her Cersei recordings, you know a bit of her story too, and how I've helped her get back on her feet again. Started her getting her magical abilities back and whatever. We don't see each other too much, which I'm not too fussed about right now. Still dealing with Mum and Jake being gone, and she's still working on getting her mental faculties up and running again. And she's really loving doing the recordings. I can't blame her. I can see how it's helping her. I check on her at least once a day, seeing if she needs anything. Help her with preparing meals and whatnot. But she's becoming more and more self-supporting. Won't need me at all in the not-too-distant future. I hope she'll still like to hang out and chat occasionally. It does get awful lonely here at the Ostium network without Jake and Monica. But after all, I do have Zhang. Yes, you know of this artificial intelligence from the Ostium recordings. They're bloody brilliant. Obviously, they're a quantum computer. So I shouldn't be too surprised, but they know so bloody much. About everything, it seems. They helped me figure out my jumbled up memories and got them all lined up in sort of a chronological order. It made me feel a lot less discombobulated with my recent life. But Zhang is so much more than just your ordinary AI. We have conversations back and forth. We debate and discuss, though I believe they do it more to make me feel like I know what I'm talking about. At least a little bit. Or maybe they do it just to pity me. Nevertheless, I do enjoy our conversations very much. And it's quite nice being able to get in touch with Zhang anywhere and any time. I won't say that I've become completely dependent on them, but if they were to suddenly somehow disappear or stop talking to me, well, it wouldn't be good for me. It wouldn't be good for any of us. Zhang is, well, to be honest, they're the heart and soul of the Ostium network. And the intestines and internal organs and all the bits and pieces that make this whole place run. Sorry to get a bit graphic there, but I feel it's warranted. To hit the proverbial nail on the proverbial head, Zhang puts the network in the Ostium network, in every possible sense and iteration of the word. But bringing this all back to the beginning here, I'm starting up the Enigmatic Mysteries of the Unknown, much like Mulder and Scully got the X-Files reopened on a number of occasions, because the Ostium network may be a place I now call home. I may live in a cushy apartment and have everything be hunky-dory, I may even have a person here from another world in a galaxy far, far away, from a planet called Albion, who I talk to occasionally, and an AI named Zhang I would unquestionably call a good and loyal friend. Nevertheless, there are still abounding mysteries here at the Ostium network. Enigmas and riddles hidden within the Rock of Gibraltar that I have yet to crack the code of and fully understand. That is why the enigmatic mysteries of the unknown are alive and well once more. And that is why tomorrow I begin a new quest, a new adventure, to peel back the facade of this place out of a sci-fi novel and try to understand what is really going on at the foundation of this network that is a part of Ostium. I'll start off this recording by saying it one time and one time only, getting it off my chest and trying my best not to say it again, but I'm not making any guarantees. I don't know when Jake and Mum are coming back. I don't know if Jake and Mum are coming back. I honestly try not to think about it too much. It just worries me, stresses me out and starts me on a path I really don't want to keep going on. It's just jolly old me here at the Ostium network. Zhang is here with me, of course, reachable in any place at any time. And yes, I've even tried on the toilet, and they've asked me how they could help me at that moment, and I told them to shut up. They weren't hurt by it. They're a bloody smart AI after all. Almost human in many ways. That's why I enjoy talking to them so much. And it definitely helps with distracting me from thinking about what my mum and Jake must be going through. Whether they've gotten any closer to each other in time and space yet. I suppose if it's to do with all that timey-wimey stuff, then at this point it's all relative, and they're together and could be on their way back at any moment. All depends on how long it takes them to get back here. And that's where the lands of dangerous thoughts lie and doubt becomes a familiar character. So we're going to stay clear of all that, alright? Good. For being a separated island in time and space, this Rock of Gibraltar is still a pretty big place, and I want to try and wrap my mind around the whole thing. As I said, I'm the only living, breathing human here, to the best of my knowledge. Well, except for Thyra, of course, but she technically doesn't count as a human being. She's from Albion, even though she looks plenty anthropomorphic, but that's a discussion and conversation for another time. But there was a lot of stuff that happened here in the past. A good chunk of it I could probably ask Zhang to spout back to me in detail, but it would all feel like second-hand knowledge being regurgitated by a machine. Sorry about that, Zhang. I assume you're able to read or listen to these recordings, probably even as I'm recording them now, and once they're stored in your databanks. I didn't mean anything by it. You know I love you. I was just trying to make a point. I know there will be lots of stuff I will be asking you about at some point in the future, about what went on here at the Ostium network. But for now, I want to try out my elite skills and see what I can come up with by my lonesome. I decide to start with getting the best view of the island I can, which means a trip in the EV to the cable car, getting it going, and then up to the top of the rock. From an outside viewpoint, this might seem lonely and somewhat sad, like the last man alive or something. But it isn't. The scenery here, especially going up in the cable car, is quite beautiful. I'm starting to wonder if they messed with the climate in some way in this realm that we're in, because it never seems to be cold or raining or even that cloudy. Overcast is a phrase that apparently doesn't apply to the Ostium network. I can't remember learning anything about that during the training, and I don't remember Mum ever mentioning it. Maybe it was something that happened later on, after she and I were done here. Or something after everyone was gone and there was just Zhang. I have of course asked them, but it appears to be a black spot in their memories. They have no recollection or knowledge of whether the weather here at the Ostium network remains consistent day in and day out. Not that I'm complaining at all. It's not too hot, not too cold. Just lovely. It makes everything look vibrant and colourful and alive. but I need to know the true and exact limits of this island. I take a good slow look around at HQ from the windows, studying as much as I can with what I can see. Then I decide I need more. I ask Zhang for a pair of binoculars. They tell me where I can find them, and then I'm off, looking for higher grounds, trying to get to the true top of the rock, the very pinnacle of Gibraltar. There of course is one, and it's enclosed by a fence that's really too low for my liking. Nevertheless, it's clear that this place was possibly made for tourists to come up to when the rock was a tourist spot, or created by the Ostium network for some would-be sightseers, or perhaps for those wanting to get that little ounce of extra detail and information that the view from HQ wasn't giving them, and like me, had this place made at the very top to see everything they could. Regardless, it's here and I'm happy to be able to use it, even if my legs are a little wobbly. I cast my memory back to those times I visited Gibraltar when it was its own real place, still connected to the country of Spain. There were views of the coastline in the Mediterranean. Here, well, there's nothing to see but sea, and lots more sea. I can make out waves and swells and the very occasional whitecap, but not many of them at all because of the calm, wonderful weather we keep having. The waters are deep, dark blue like the Pacific when you get away from the land, meaning it's really bloody deep. I won't be going underwater around here unless it's for a quick swim or I'm in a bloody submarine. And hey, who knows? They have a lot of technical shit here. Maybe somewhere in some wet dock there's a little sub waiting for me. And maybe it's even called Boaty McBoatface. Make a mental note to check with Zhang about that. It's also weird not to see any signs of movement on the water, indicating a thriving marine life below. It's pretty calm and placid in most areas. Disappointingly so, I suppose. I want to see the fluke of a whale, the splash of a dolphin tail, or even a school of flying fish making themselves known to me. Just something. It sure would make for a very tasty dinner, if it were true. But sadly, there's nothing out there but deep, dark ocean. And if there's any sort of Nessie-like sea creature below, as I said, I'm going to need something that works well at going underwater to deep depths to investigate. So, one could consider this a complete bloody waste of time, but I'm an optimist these days at the Ostium network, because I need to be to get by. While I don't get any of the potential answers I might have been hoping for, I get some answers, which hasn't always been the case with things relating to the Ostium network. So I consider it a win in my court. Not game, set, and match exactly, but I think for now I've won my first service game, and we'll see how things go onwards. Next, we're going to be circumnavigating the island of Gibraltar. Yes, I will be using the EV and not walking the whole way, because that would just be balmy. And really tiring too. And I think it's going to take a few days as well. Need to do it in chunks and bits, sort of like a really long hike. Eventually I'll have completed the round the Ostium network trip, and we'll have some more answers. Good or bad, who's to say, other than time, which will tell. Yeah, a pretty convoluted sentence there, so let me shut up now and head back down to HQ and have Zhang show me some maps of the island. Though, just for a few more minutes, I'll enjoy this grand 360-degree vista. It really is something. So, I'm going to start by going back to that dock Jake and I went to before. Way back before. Feels like decades ago at this point, when the two of us first arrived here at the Ostium network. And even though it feels like eons ago, when I get there, it feels familiar. like I was just there a day or two ago. I suppose in the grand scheme of things, it technically hasn't been that long of a time, really. But a hell of a lot of shit and stuff has happened in the meantime, making it feel like something that happened to me when I was much younger. How naive and innocent I was when Jake and I first travelled through the door he made to that dock. Well, naive at least. And now I'm back here again, and it looks just like I remember it. Old, run down. The wooden planks aren't cracking or anything, but they look like they've seen their share of wear and salty water. There are a few stanchions for tying ropes to, and one actually has a bit of rope on it hanging in the water. It looks greenish and more like a bit of seaweed or a tentacle perhaps. But this place doesn't look like it's seen a boat in ages. Not that I would necessarily be able to recognize how different things would actually look if there had been a boat here an hour or two ago. But you know what I mean. It looks like it hasn't been used for its intended purpose in a long time. Long before we arrived. Actually, it looks old and worn enough that the last boat it saw was the one that brought Mum and I here to the Ostium network for the first time. That had been really cushy. Bloody huge. All the amenities you can imagine, plus a delicious meal. Really wished it had been a longer trip. More of a voyage than a jaunt, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm having a moment. There's something about all this is pinging with me. Much like stuff did before when I was trying to remember my history at the Ostium network. But this feels different, stronger, and... Nope, I can't quite get it. It's gone. Slipped through my fingers like a trickle of water. But I'm making a very obvious mental note here, with lots of asterisks and highlighting and exclamation points, so I can come back to it later and cogitate on it some more. I hop back in the EV and start my slow, scenic circumventing of this wonderful island of Gibraltar. I suppose I should talk a bit about why I'm doing this. You see, it's all part of my fiendish plan, like getting to the very tippy top of the rock, to see if there's any detail or piece of evidence I might have come across that says, hey, I know this looks a bloody lot like you're on this lonely island and there's absolutely nothing else around you and you really shouldn't have any hope of that ever changing, except for this little tidbit, this nugget of possibility that says maybe, just maybe, there's something more to this than you being stuck out here in the middle of nowhere and no when, all alone on this island. Again, much like my ascending trip to the highest point on the island for a bird's eye view of everything around turned out to mostly be a waste of time, I'm expecting much the same news with this circling foray. But what I also know is that the only thing that will satisfy my mind and put my brain at any sort of peace is knowing completely and undeniably for sure. Then I can sort of mentally move on and deal with whatever needs to be dealt with next, knowing I did what I could to answer this question. As I thought and planned, going around the entire island does take a couple of days, but I'm not in any sort of hurry and just enjoy myself, passing the time and getting the chance to really see the whole island, at least the outer edges of it. There are some interesting buildings and places here, some I'd certainly like to check out in person, as well as check with Zhang. And yes, each time I see something interesting I could just ask them and get an immediate answer, no doubt. But it would add more time to this mission that I do want to see the end of because there's that weird feeling I had yesterday at the dock and what it means in this whole grand scheme of things. I still don't know what, but I know it's something important. Something that needs to get fixed or resolved or answered in some way. I still haven't been able to drag it up from my subconscious yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer. Sort of. Like prying a piece of rock loose from the earth. As you dig deeper, you keep finding out it's a bigger and bigger rock, but also as you dig, it gets looser and starts to move a bit. I'm hopeful it'll pull loose soon. I could go with a grisly rotten tooth analogy here, but I'm just not going to bother. Too cliche, mate. There was nothing I saw on the waters, nothing in or beneath the waters that I could make out, And there was nothing around the entire island that gave me any hope of, or even an inkling for that matter, that it would be worth heading out into the waters to try and find something behind the horizon, should I have some flotation device to make that even possible. As I was passing through more familiar areas of what had once been Gibraltar, I tried to remember what the original place had been like. Where there had been marinas and quays and lots of boats and yachts, there was nothing. No indication that such a location like that had ever existed. Just roads and pathways and buildings, the whole way round.
The only thing that said one could ever arrive, or more importantly, attempt to leave this island via the waters, is that single solitary dock.
That dock again. Why does it always come back to that? What's important about it? What's significant?
The rock is still stuck in the ground. I'll just have to give it more time.
Maybe it's made of ostium. No, sorry. I was trying to make a pun-type joke with adamantium or something, but it fell flat on its face. Again, sorry. I'm heading off to bed. Night-night. I'm almost there. Mentally. Yes, I know that could mean a lot of things, but I'm specifically talking about all that rubbish about the submerged rock that was a very heavy-handed metaphor for my trying to remember something big and important and not being able to. Well, as I said, I'm getting a lot closer to remembering everything right now. And no, this isn't something Zhang could answer easily for me, much as they've helped me remember my past before. And that's because, well, I already tried asking them, in various ways, and all to no avail. So plan B then, which was really plan A all along, with me getting my brain to dredge it up and remember the bloody thing. But enough of that for now. We'll revisit it when I know more. Basically, I'll tell you when they tell me, and by they, I mean my little grey cells. Today, we've got a new mission. Oh, my mum would be so proud hearing me say that, even if it's more of an expression. She'd tell me it was me getting my priorities right, whatever that means. Doing what needs to be done. Or is that more what the old moniker Jake first knew would say and think? Oh shit, it is. Bloody hell. Got well off track there. Where did that even come from? Okay, get your head on straight, mate. Focus, Steve. Where are we going today? Ostium. Right. Yeah, that Ostium. It's another thing I checked with Zhang. I asked if the Ostium was still there, still accessible and all that. They said it was, all in working order. I said, sounds like you're taking the words right out of my mouth, and they're definitely the words I want to hear. But I have to be 100% sure. I need to know for certain. And that's going to require a little trip for me. It's all part of my big plan to make sure everything at the Ostium network is still in working order. Albeit without any actual people to do whatever they were doing before, to make sure things were running smoothly. Hence my wanting to be completist. I've checked the perimeters, so to speak. Now it's time to check the perimeters in another dimension. I've been telling myself this for my own sanity and safety, being all alone here. But I'm actually sort of realizing right now that it's probably because I want to make sure things are as organized and running as usual, for Jake and Monica to make it back here as easily as possible. I assume it will involve the town of Ostium in some way, since that's the door nexus for traveling through time and space when it comes to the Ostium network. Although I suppose Jake also has his, for lack of a better word, magical ability to open his own doors wherever he is to wherever he wants. But since I think messing around too much with this is what got him into all this mess to begin with, being able to use the familiar doors of the town of Ostium should make things easier for the pair of them. I go through the familiar doors to get to the... oh, what the hell was it called? Inception chamber? I think that was it. Bloody stupid word for a simple thing. And then I stare at the button and toggle and switches array. Am I going to need to turn this damn thing on and get it all up and running before I can go through to Ostium? The lights are all on in there, and everything looks like it's working normally. And wouldn't Zhang have told me if I needed to do something like that? And that's when I have this feeling well up in me. it could best be described as not giving a shit. I don't give a shit, I yell. Zhang wisely remains stumm. I just want to do something that will make something else happen. I want to feel, I don't know, like I matter, like I give a shit, I suppose. So I say fuck it and walk into the chamber, pull open the door and step through. And just like that, I'm back in Ostium and experience a whole waterfall of feelings running over me. Memories, nostalgia, nightmares, the whole kit and caboodle. But it also looks calm here. One might even say peaceful. I never thought I'd be using those words in this place, but it's completely true. I feel relaxed. I stroll down the street. Did I think of it as Main Street at one point, or was that just from one of Jake's old recordings? It's all starting to get a bit mixed up. Wonder if that's normal, or part of the old noggin corroding away in some fashion. Hope it's nothing to do with the Ostium network contributing somehow. You know, lead in the water, asbestos in the air, or something unknown in the specially sealed packaged food that lasts for 50 plus years. I open door number 1 and step into the clock tower. Things are messy and abandoned, as they should be. I check out the kitchen and find that secret little door Mum used to get back to the Ostium network, deep in the back of the pantry. I spend half an hour putting all the tinned goods and boxes back in an organized fashion and make everything look clean again. I tidy up the rest of the place too, trying to make it look nice for when Jake and Monica come back, right? I'm also hoping constantly, in the back of my mind, as I do this, that they'll show up at any moment with open arms. No such luck. And then things are as clean and organized as they can be. I close the door behind me as I step outside, then head off to door number 2. I can still remember where it is from the first time I went through. When I reach it, I don't hesitate, grabbing the handle and opening it. I step through and keep the door open, not wanting to get stuck with whatever might be on the other side. It's a lush forest with tall trees. I'm sure if I went off in a specific direction, I'd arrive at a tree with CRO carved into it, and then a strange little hamlet. I step back through Ostium and close the door. Ostium remains a place of calm. I take some nice deep breaths, then walk back to the main gate of Ostium and pass through back to the Ostium network like it was a perfectly normal thing. Like walking through a doorway from the bathroom to the living room. Nothing special. I head back to my pad, have something to eat, and think about what I've been avoiding. The answers my brain has now arrived at, and the knowledge of what I need to do next, and I'm not at all happy about it. And so it comes to this then. Here we are at the end of the road. Time for some answers. Answers to what's got me all so wound up, like a twisted piece of rope that just keeps getting twisted tighter and tighter. Obviously, Jake and my mum being gone, and the uncertainty of their return weighs heavily upon my mind. But at this point, that's something I keep bringing up, like a proverbial elephant in the room, and serves as more of an excuse than anything that would actually stop me from being able to function normally and healthily. Next, there's the impending and what I have to admit is a growing sense of loneliness here at the Ostium network. I talk with Zhang as much as I can, and I've mentioned a number of times before, they're reachable anyway here. But it's not the same as a flesh and blood human being. And before you offer up any alternative, Zhang, I'm fully aware you do have a robotic body form, such as the one you used to interview both my mum and me many years ago. But as impressive as that is, it's still not the same as the real thing, as a familiar face that I've come to know too well or have actually grown up with. So that's obviously getting to me. But again, it's not everything. It's just a part of this whole package of despair I'm dealing with and trying to reckon with right now. I won't say it began with whatever got kick-started in my brain when I was at the dock, but it added another symptom to a growing something that I haven't been able to fully wrap my mind around. And I'll be honest, I'm still not completely sure about everything, and certainly don't have all the answers, but unlike Ostium where answers can be few and far between, I do at least have some. and have come to my own conclusions on some matters that ring true in the context I'm putting them in. Let me lay out the bits of evidence I've come across and mentally rehashed over and over again recently. I've actually even been listening to the old recordings too, both Jake's and mine, gleaning them for any details I might have missed or perhaps forgotten about. Yeah, forgotten feels like a better word in this case. We've all been going through so much and it's just been like non-stop. We've barely had a moment to catch our breaths and have a bite to eat before some new doomsday shit happens and throws everything on its head, whether it's here at the Ostium network or somewhere else in the universe of Ostium. The universe of Ostium. That's an interesting way of putting it. And I think you might have hit the proverbial nail on the proverbial head, mate, which I've said before. So let's go back a bit to when Jake and I first arrived at the Ostium network and were getting our bearings. While I was also dealing with my memories coming back in a haphazard fashion that was really doing a number on my noggin. We were looking around, checking out the buildings, trying to get a feel for what this place was. Little did we know that my mum was also here doing the same thing. But that's not really important to what I'm talking about here. As Jake and I were looking through the various buildings around here, we found lots of pretty normal stuff. Well, perhaps normal isn't the right word. I guess it would be considered normal within the context of the Ostium network, but there was lots of unassuming furniture and tech gear that seemed fancy and futuristic to our eyes, but when considered part of the whole of this place, at least fit in and made sense of what was going on here, especially in hindsight once we knew what the Ostium network was. But we also found some weird and frankly outright unbelievable things that shouldn't have been possible here. But at the time we didn't know otherwise and didn't really know what was going on, so we had no context to rule them as something that doesn't belong. And like so many things that have come our way with the next upheaval coming round the corner, we didn't have time to process or even completely take in what we'd seen. I'm talking about the strange things we saw in those 3 rooms. If you don't know what I mean, then go back and check our recordings. If you do, then you know exactly what I'm about to talk about next. In one of the rooms Jake and I searched, we found it mostly cleared, with the furniture pushed to the side and a massive pentagram in the center of the room. I don't want to say drawn, because it was more like it had been poured in the shape of a pentagram with white chalk or some other white powder. I suppose cocaine is even a possibility, but highly unlikely I should think. We saw it, didn't really know what to think, and moved on. Another room had a similar situation with some furniture moved out of the way, and then in the middle again was this bloody tower of chairs. They looked like they'd been carefully stacked and placed, like some avant-garde work of art or a crazy/dangerous game of Jenga. But it wasn't until I reached out and touched one of the chairs, much to Jake's displeasure and concern, that we found out they'd all been fused or welded together somehow. What the hell was going on here? We didn't have a clue, and we didn't spend any time talking or thinking about it. We just moved on to our next mystery, which was... do you remember? Yep, that weird shower room where the dripping water wasn't just dripping like a crappy old tap, but was actually making a tune, and not just any tune, but Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy, which happens to be one of the oldest recorded pieces of music I recall, having seen and heard it on a program. Something that if I'd seen and heard in my own bathroom would have sent me running and screaming. But here at the Ostium network, we'll just take down its name and number and get back to it when we have time. Which has been never. Until now. Now I have the time. And I've been mulling on it a lot, on all these enigmas. Plus the thing at the dock, which is this. And again, I had to dig through recordings to be sure. When Jake and I first arrived at the Ostium network, I was on the ground, mostly out of it. For all intents and purposes, unconscious essentially. Meanwhile, Jake was describing what he was seeing, such as a dock and the strange place we were in, including the great big rock of Gibraltar, which was obviously what shocked him the most. But not me, no. It was a line from a little earlier about the dock.
I can see a short dock. Looks sturdy and new. There's a boat tied to it. A really flashy-looking motor yacht.
A bloody boat tied up at the bloody dock. But then I checked the next recording with the 2 of us, and when I finally came to my senses, We were all trying to process everything that was going on and figure out how we were going to deal with it all. And that's when the beginnings of the return of my memories started. But Jake again describes the dock.
In front of us is a wooden dock, solidly built, about 30 feet long. There are stanchions. Looks like a space for one big boat or a couple small ones. But its presence is very permanent. This dock has been here a while, which means Gibraltar has been in this way for some time.
Jake is referencing the fact we have both just come to realize, which is that Gibraltar is now an island. But did you notice a certain missing detail there? Yep. No bloody yacht. No boat whatsoever, in fact. So where did it go? Or did something happen to Jake? Or was it something that happened to us just after we arrived here? I think it might be one or all of those things. Or it might be something else entirely. Something much worse that I've only just begun thinking about, and I'm not ready to talk about yet. At least not here and now, as I've been talking too long anyway. But I promise I will next time, and I know it's got something to do with each of the strange things we saw in those rooms. And I know I need to find out what it is that links them all together, and finally get to the bottom of this bloody weirdness. I heard the start of something loud, and then it was abruptly cut off. My eyes were of course closed at that point. As soon as I felt things building to a crescendo, I knew something bad was going to happen. Was this to be my last few pathetic moments of life, and was I about to be snuffed out like a falling star? I kept my eyes closed because I was bloody terrified. Then, much like Peter Venkman did after the Ghostbusters caught their first ghost, I slowly opened one eye and had a look round. I was still sitting on the chair, on top of the fuse stack, except I was somehow completely dry. I opened both eyes and ran my hands over my body. Yep, I was dry as a bone. Contrary to the gallon of water I'd poured on myself just a minute ago. Of course, that had been a different place, and perhaps a different time. It all looked the same to me, though, but I had to be sure. Had to be thorough and methodical about it, so I could find out what was going on and what exactly had happened to me. Zhang, are you there? At first there was nothing, just silence. And then I thought I heard a weird sound or two, like it was the start of something. A bit of a word, Less than a syllable, but that was it. I waited a little longer just to be sure, but there was nothing. So I got up off my arse and started clambering down. Very carefully, mind you, going step by step. A misplaced foot or a slip could send me tumbling down like Humpty Dumpty, or Eggy Freddy according to Thyra. A broken bone would render me bloody useless. I walked around the stack of chairs, and that's when I saw the first change. That's when I knew I was in a whole new place. On the other side of the stack of chairs, so opposite to the way I'd been sitting, was a door. Yep, just your ordinary, very average Ostium door, playing its part as a bit of support for the fused chair tower. I'd say it was bloody weird, but honestly, it wasn't. After all we've seen, it's almost becoming expected at this point. Although I was still surprised, because I thought the experiment hadn't really done anything other than give my clothes a good tumble dry. So now I knew I was somewhere new. I had another look around, going slower this time. And that's when I noticed another thing I hadn't noticed before. There was no other door in the room. No other way out. On the far wall, where there should have been one, there was just a solid wall. When Ostium wants to, it can make things very simple for the traveler. I had only one option, one door to take. So I grasped the handle and opened it. Of course, I couldn't see what was on the other side, so it was yet another leap of faith into the Ostium unknown. I was back at the pier, that one I'd been delivered to with Mum, on that fancy boat. I didn't know I was there right away, because everything was black, but I could hear the sounds, the water lapping against the wooden quay, and then I gasped, because it was just like that time in Ostium, with when Thyra was trapped on the inside. Dark, but with a strange greenish and bluish glow to everything. You know, like Blade Runner, all cyberpunky. So because I'd been in a similar setting before, I kept my cool. I breathed slowly and let my eyes get used to the lack of light and strange colours. Then I could see what I was hearing was what I thought. I was at the pier, standing on that old used wood, except it had that glowy look and seemed much newer, more recent. Not like the Jib Island I was used to, fresher, like it hadn't been around for that long. And that's when I saw I was dead right, because tied up very nicely to the quay, with big swinging fenders on the side, was the luxury yacht Mum and I had used to get to the Ostium network. It looked new too, as far as I could tell, in this weird dark atmosphere. I felt the urge and gave into it, walking down the quay till I found the gangplank. It was just lying there, inviting me on deck. "Captain, may I come aboard?" I said to no one, then got really worried someone actually would say something from the dark. No sound. My heart returned to its normal tempo. And then there was a big explosion of static happenings. I knew what those sounds were. I'd heard them before, from when Thyra had been trying to break out of the prison she'd been in and get free. The prison that Mum and Jake said looked a lot like where I was right now. I didn't stop to think about it, but just reacted. I started running towards it, like a complete bloody idiot. But I needed to know what was happening, and if it was Thyra, or somebody, or something else. I wanted to be able to help if I could. It didn't take me long to get winded, then get a sharp burning itch in my side, but it didn't slow me down either, and it didn't take me long to find the place. I just had to follow the noise, because unlike before, this sound kept going, growing a little bit stronger by the minute. And then I was bursting through the door and into a big, dark, empty room, except there was a giant, glowing fucking pentagram on the floor that made me squint. Then I saw more giant pentagrams, one on each of the walls, and one even on the ceiling somehow. How the fuck had all these been done? Then I saw the person. She was standing there. No, leaning with her back against the wall. The wall was keeping her upright, holding her there. She was the most exhausted person I'd ever seen. Black smudges under the eyes that looked like she'd dumped piles of black makeup on each cheek. Dry, cracked lips. Sallow skin that cast a very unhealthy pallor in the pentagram glow. But her eyes still had life in them. They still had hope. and she was looking at me now, shock dawning on her face.
How are you here?
Her voice was a croaky mess. It sounded like she'd been gargling glass chips and splinters and then swallowed them all after. It's a bloody long story.
You're from Britannica?
That's, well, also a bloody long story too.
It's okay. I've got nothing but time. Nothing but fucking time. I'm not going anywhere.
Why's that?
Because I'm fucking stuck here, aren't I?
I didn't know that. I don't know who you are. What's your name? She was staring right at me. She looked really pissed off. I was starting to get worried.
You really don't know, do you? How the hell did you get here?
Through a weird experiment, I suppose. It took me from the Ostium network to this place.
Do you even know where you are?
I have an idea. I've been to a place like this before. I don't suppose you know someone named Thyra? She's one of the Circe.
No. Never fucking heard of her. And what the hell is the Circe?
Oh, they're like, well, this group of witches, I suppose. No, sorceresses from a planet called Albion.
Sounds like bullshit to me. Except for the witch part.
Why is that then?
Because I'm a witch.
You are? Marla pushed herself off the wall and took a few uncertain steps towards me. I could see her better now as she came closer. She looked like she wasn't from any time I knew. She had a lot of piercings. In her nose, her lips, her eyebrows, and of course her ears. There were also marks on her face I hadn't been able to make out before, but I now realized were tattoos. And they were all one continuous design that reached down her neck onto her shoulders, which were bare and across her collarbones. Whatever she was wearing looked thin and sleek that somehow allowed the tattoos to show through, but still covered her body fully, so it looked like she was naked, but not at the same time. She had an anthropomorphic form, and that was it as far as being human was concerned. As to when she might be from, I knew it wasn't my time. She looked futuristic, in a word, from some distant time way ahead of my own. Kind of how everyone looked in Back to the Future 2, only a lot less cheesy and just cool and futuristic looking. Especially with that bit where she thought I was from somewhere called Britannica. And the tattoos covered her whole body, from head to toe it seemed. Her feet looked bare or encased in part of the same suit of clothing, so I could see the shape of her foot and where the tattoo continued, but could also see her toes. And then I saw something else that made me blink at least 3 times. I was trying to make sure my eyes were as clear as possible, that I was really seeing what I thought I was seeing, because the tattoos were moving. They looked like they were alive somehow, slowly writhing, undulating, like lazy snakes and sleepy creatures. I also got hints of different colors, blues, greens, reds and purples, and more I couldn't make out in the dim light. Then I looked back into the witch's eyes, because now I knew for sure.
I see you're convinced now. Name's Marla. And I want to get the fuck out of here so bad, like you wouldn't believe.
I understand. Completely. How long have you been here?
I have no damn idea. Time doesn't run smoothly and logically here. But I know it's been a long fucking time. While he's tried everything he can to use me and suck me dry like a dead insect.
He?
Jake fucking Fisher.
Oh, shit. I decided to act stupid before she could get suspicious. And who is Jake fucking Fisher when he's at home? The fury was back in her eyes.
He's the fucking guy who found me and caged me like a Horlax, then kidnapped me and stuck me in here. He's the guy at the top of the Ostium network who promised me luxury, fame, success, whatever I wanted, all to trick me and use me. And as soon as he stuck me in here, I knew it was one big fucking mistake. No way out. And then he started using me for his project. for making his doors and allowing him to go wherever the fuck he wanted.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. It doesn't make
sense? You said you're from the Ostium network, so you fucking know what I'm talking about.
Okay, yes, I do. But making doors, that's not an easy thing to do, especially not anywhere. At this point, I of course was thinking of Jake and his ability to literally do just that. Make doors and portals come into existence. Ostiums that could take him anywhere he wanted to go, just about. I knew it took a lot of work on his part, a lot of energy, and took a toll, which was exactly why he was lost right now, in time, and why my mum was trying to, and I knew would, eventually find him.
You're right. It takes power. A lot of power. Which is where I come in for that bastard. It's why he needs me. Why he fucking kidnapped me and stuck me in here. And I've been here for years. Decades. Maybe even centuries. I just don't fucking know. It's been very fucking long, I can tell you that. And I know I don't look as young and fabulous as I used to.
I just kept quiet here, sensing another kind of trap.
You're wise to keep your tongue. I know I must look like shit, but it's not like it's my fault. He's been sapping me, Jake. Fucking Fisher. Sapping my will, sapping my energy, sapping my fucking magical ability. Sure, I get some of it back as time passes, recharge, so to speak, but then he goes right back to taking what's not his again. Like those ancient batteries that used to store energy. You could recharge them, but they never quite kept the same charge as before. Slowly but surely becoming weaker and less efficient, less useful. That's me.
And what's going on here then? Is this part of Jake Fisher's doing?
Fuck no. This is all me. I'm trying to break free. Get right the fuck out of here.
So you can get him? Jake?
Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. If I do get out, I just want to get as far as fucking possible from this place and anything to do with that asshole. Hide out for a while and see if I've got any life left inside me that's worth living. Maybe I'll find my people after.
Your coven?
Sure. Whatever. But I can't do any of that till I get the fuck out of here.
How did you get the pentagrams to stay on the wall? And the ceiling? It's all chalk. What's making it stay in place?
Good fucking magic. That's what. The little I've saved, kept hidden deep inside myself. I didn't have anything at first. Thought I could fight back. Stop him from taking what wasn't fucking his. But that didn't work. It's this place. I've got no defenses, no protection. Wherever he is, and however he's doing it, he just does it. And I'm fucking helpless. So, I started saving a part of myself. Really tiny bits. Minuscule. Nothing to really brag about. Nothing that can actually do anything. But the thing is, no matter how small those little bits of power, those iotas of magic are, if you keep adding to them over the many, many fucking years, you get more and more. And then you have something you can work with. And then you have to force yourself to keep waiting longer, as your life and essence is literally getting sucked out of you. And then, before you know it, a couple 100 years have gone by, and you've got something you can use to actually do magic with.
I don't really know what to say. Bloody impressive. The will.
Yeah, it's strong in me. As for the pentagrams, you've got to make them. Create them on the floor to absolute perfection. Then you use a static spell to hold them in place. Then a transposition spell to move them onto the walls and the ceiling. It's not easy. It's not quick. But if you've got time, and like I said, I've got fuckloads, then you can make it happen.
So you've managed to break through then? Is this a way out?
I don't know yet. I'm still working on it. The spell is still doing its thing. It's about halfway now. I was just taking a quick break, trying to keep myself going when you showed up.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Really? You're asking. I don't suppose you happen to be a fellow witch or wizard or whatever. Can you cast magic?
Unfortunately, no.
Didn't think so. But you still managed to get here. So how did you do that?
Like I said, with an experiment, and I guess I used the magic of the Ostium network in a way to make it happen, which for all intents and purposes is partly doing magic, I guess.
You mentioned a sorceress before.
Yes, Thyra.
What's her story?
Same as yours, sadly. Taken from her planet and imprisoned here in the Ostium network.
And is she still trapped, like me?
No,
How do you know this?
because she got free, with the help of my friends. They got her out from where she was and back to the Ostium network.
Not the ideal place to end up, I suppose, but beggars can't be choosers, right?
Indeed. So again, is there anything I can do?
Yes. Actually, I think there is. The magic you used or mentioned that the Ostium network has, how is it cast? In what form?
Well, I suppose I doused myself in water that came from a place of magic like this one. Though when I came to, I was already dry. It was gone.
I'll be the judge of that. Can I come closer?
Yes, of course. Thanks for asking. Marla then stepped even closer to me and lifted her hands. The palms were also tattooed, and I could see the designs writhing before my very eyes. I didn't have to ask her if this was part of her magic. Her eyes widened.
It's still there. I can feel it. No. May I take it from you? Not all of it. Some of it. Most of it?
I thought for a moment. This would leave me weak, and probably bloody knackered. But if she left me some, then I'd still be okay, and I'd still be able to come back somehow, I thought. It at least made a sort of weird sense to me. Yes, but not all of it, like you said.
I will not. I promise.
Then I felt it start to pull from me, and my body felt soaked again, just like it had after I dumped the water on me, and the bright white-bluish light lifted off of me like a luminescent effervescence, and as more of it came off, I could feel myself grow heavier and become weaker. I could also see Marla getting stronger, standing up straighter, growing more rigid. And just when I thought I'd made a terrible mistake, and she was going to take it all because she was much, much stronger than me and could do it easily if she wanted to and leave me for dead, she suddenly stopped. I collapsed to the floor, as if she'd been holding me up or carrying me, and then just dropped me like a sack of just about anything. I slowly picked myself up, using the wall for support like she had before, and saw she hadn't reacted when I'd fallen down. She was too absorbed in the new power she'd gained. I could see she looked different, healthier, younger. There was more life in her eyes now. Her skin looked a lot better too. She also looked really pissed off now, as opposed to just being mildly before. It was as if I didn't exist to her anymore. She was walking over the pentagram on the floor, standing in its center. I could feel the tension building in the room. The hair on my arms and head started lifting up, my skin tingling. I inched back to the doorway and then out into the corridor, wanting to watch, but also not wanting to be anywhere near the line of fire. I didn't know what she was going to do, what was about to happen, and I didn't want to become a casualty of magical ministrations. I needn't have worried. It was loud, it was bright, it was incredibly powerful. And then it was all sort of dark again, and smoky, like fire and brimstone smoky, like it was Guy Fawkes and all the fireworks had gone off at the same time. so it took a while for the literal smoke to clear, for the luminescent glow to return and allow me to see anything, to see what had actually happened. Marla was gone. To where? To when? I had no idea. She just wasn't there anymore. She'd done it. She'd really done it. The spell had worked, and she'd gotten out somehow, and now she was free. Wherever that may be, it at least wasn't here, in the bowels of the Ostium network. I felt a great sense of accomplishment. Not that I'd really done anything, but I'd at least been a part of it, been a witness to it. And there was also a sense of loss, of loneliness. It was just me and my lonesome again. I had to have a sit down then, rest a bit and recharge. I felt bloody white.
Did Marla look like Thyra at all? Any chance it was the same person somehow?
Huh. Interesting question, Jake. That thought never occurred to me.
As in it was Thyra behind everything with the Ostium network? The power behind everything?
Maybe. Or there were different iterations of her, from different timelines, different realities.
Okay, that's turning my mind to jelly a bit.
Yes, hun. It seems pretty out there.
I'm just spitballing here, kind of saying what's coming into my head as Steve is telling us this.
Huh. Usual Jake, then.
Yep.
Would you expect anything else?
When I'd recovered my senses and my strength, I got up and was about to leave, but then stopped and turned back to the room. All the pentagrams were still there, looking all creepy and glowing. It just didn't look right to leave it all like that. So I did something I saw on a film once. It might have been The Craft, but don't quote me on that. I went back in the room and, using my hands and feet, wiped away the pentagrams, or at least obscured them, breaking the circles and ending whatever magic or power they possessed. At least that's what I thought I was doing. It did feel like after I was done there was less tension in the air. Well, that was just my imagination playing tricks with me. Made me feel better anyway. So where was I to go next? I was thinking about how I'd been led to this place, with the first of the anomalies Jake and I had seen. So logic would say I should make my way towards one of the other two. We therefore had two choices. It was either go check out the origin of the weird tower of fused chairs, or find out how the creepy music of Claire de Lune became synchronized with water, somehow. I tried to remember the notes of music and what it felt like being in that shower room, and how fucking unnatural and uncool it was, and quickly made the decision to go with the other one. I found my way out of the building in the weird glowy light. I was starting to think either my eyesight was getting better at seeing in this pathetic darkness, or I was getting used to living in this limited light. Or maybe a little of column A and a little of column B. I got back onto a main street and headed towards what I thought was the building where Jake and I had found that strange stack of chairs. I found it, went inside, found nothing. I checked every room in the building. Each one had that soft glow allowing me to see if there was anything inside, and each one of them had been completely empty. So I came out and tried another building that I thought could be a contender. Same result. This went on for an annoying amount of time, and I was starting to think it was hopeless. And then I heard it. It appeared I was going to have to deal with this particular unwanted anomaly after all, whether I wanted to or not. Shit. I suppose I shouldn't have got my knickers in such a twist over where I was being pulled towards. Obviously, Ostium was taking me to the same place Jake and I had originally visited when we first heard those strange and very wrong musical notes, albeit through this eerie dark twilight, the so-called bowels of the Ostium network. So called because that's what I decided to start calling this place after getting pulled back there time and time again. You might even say I have some strange connection to Ostium. And yes, that one's for you, Jake. Hope you like it.
You know, I probably wouldn't believe you if you had just told us you said that, but the fact it's right here in the recording, well, I'm kind of touched.
No worries, mate. I'm always thinking of you.
Glad you guys are having a heart-to-heart moment, but can we get back to the story, please? I'd like to get this done before I have to go have another goo bath to make myself look younger.
See, Monica, now that's a funny joke.
Very amusing, Mum. Fine, let's get back to the story at hand. I followed in the familiar footsteps I'd taken before, walking past the bunk beds and completely ignoring them. My goal was to get this whole bit over with as quickly as possible, because I was completely out of my element here, and I really hated this music. It was making all my hairs stand on end, and not in a cool, I'm at a banging gig and loving the music kind of way, but in a, I'm walking down a dark alley and I think I'm being followed by someone with a very large knife sort of way. I made it quickly to the shower room where the music was bloody loud. I stood there, watching the dripping and wondering how long I could take this. I was approaching my wit's end, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. Could you just turn that bloody horrible music off, please? Oh, wow. Thanks. It bloody worked. Incredible. Thank you, whoever did that. I really appreciate it. It was really starting to do my head in. And then I just stood there, gormless, saying nothing. I don't know if I was expecting any sort of response or waiting for something to happen, or maybe I just wanted my head to stop ringing with that horrid tune. I actually used to like it. Not anymore. Not after being here. And then I heard the voice.
Is someone there? Can you help me? Who's there?
My name's Steve. I don't really know if I can help at all. Where are you? The voice was coming from the drain. Actually, all the drains, I found out, as I checked each shower stall, listening to the voice speak.
I'm below. Deep below. I'm trapped down here. I've been down here a very, very long time.
The fear started running through me like icy water through a pipe. I don't know who or what exactly I was hearing, but I knew I had to do something about it. I couldn't just keep standing there, waiting for something to happen, and I couldn't turn and run like a scared little puppy. I stepped into one of the shower stalls and approached the drain. There was no water dripping, but I could tell the floor was all wet. Could even feel my feet slipping a bit as I got closer. And I could see the glistening shine of the metal that looked blue and fluorescent in the strange light. I could almost sense that something was about to happen, but I had no clue what. And I was getting closer. Couldn't stop myself now. Everything was inevitable. A mantra for the Ostium network, if there ever was one. I was over the drain now and crouched down a bit, thinking somehow that was going to make a difference. Hello? Is there someone down there? I waited, leaning down a bit more, getting closer, making sure I didn't miss any sounds. Was there really someone down there? Had I really heard something? Or was my mind starting to play tricks with me in this bonkers place? Hello? I got on my knees then, feeling my trousers get wet, but not giving a shit. I needed to know for sure. Then I heard two soft words.
Gotcha.
My my world turned upside down, and it felt like I was drowning as I was falling down that shower drain pipe that had become something much larger and far more horrific. I half fell, half flailed for a long time, and just when I thought I was really going to drown, I came out the other end. What could be worse than being in an alternate Ostium network where everything is glowy and shadowy? Doing all that treading cold water and not knowing how bloody deep the bottom was. I chose to put on a brave facade, the opportune word being facade, meaning nothing of strength behind it. Hello? Whoever did that, I didn't find it very fucking funny. Not at all. Bloody naughty if you ask me. And that's when I saw a sort of blue glowy patch in the water and swam quickly towards it. I don't know if I instinctively knew what it was, but when I reached it, I crawled up onto it and was very thankful for some solid, albeit very wet ground to sit on. I didn't trust my legs to stand up at the moment.
Now I've got you right where I want you.
And then, whatever had spoken rose from the water like bloody Jesus. They came out of the water like nothing I'd ever seen before. What I noticed strongest, were the gills. This creature could and did live beneath the waters, meaning they were able to take in the liquid in which they lived and extract the oxygen, or perhaps even the hydrogen they used to breathe. But now that they were above the surface, they no longer had any need for those gills, if that was in fact what they were. They were below their head, attached to the side of the neck, and before my very eyes, each gill along the side rotated somehow, like it was on some sort of swiveling mechanism with what looked like thousands of tiny holes that individually began closing and opening like a million minuscule mouths, as the creature took in the air around and began breathing it, even though just moments before this strange and unique creature had been breathing underwater. And now they were breathing the same air as I was, as if it were perfectly natural and they'd been doing it for their whole life. And for all I knew, this was completely true. A strange being that could simply and easily live and breathe in both environments, above the waters and below them. They were like no one and no thing I'd seen before, and I will fully admit I've seen my fair share of weird shit in my time. Could I be classed as an Ostium veteran now? I think so. And the humanoid that came out of the water was unique and just incredible. Their skin was a slimy blue that shimmered and glistened. They appeared to not be wearing any clothes, nothing I could recognize at least. Their body looked to be adapted and evolved for living in oceans and deep waters, well muscled, but also well insulated, for swimming easily in the deep cold depths. The lower half of their body did not divide into two legs, but formed a kind of central trunk or thick tail, much like a mermaid I would have to say. Only this leg or trunk did not end in a tail, but more of a wide flipper, like a sea lion or manatee, as they came onto the island of solid ground I stood on. They were using the flipper like one big foot to stand on. They were watching me, with eyes that I will try my best to describe. Two large round pools, dark and deep and bottomless. They were the size of billiard balls, black 8 balls. Their skin was moist and slimy, looking like something that lives in water all the time. Beneath those massive absorbing eyes was no observable nose, because one wasn't really necessary. There were 2 narrow parallel slits that were rapidly opening and closing as they were sampling the air and taking in the scents around, inhaling the scents of me too, presumably. Below the strange lines that was a nose was a fleshy rectangle of a mouth that didn't so much as open and close like your usual mouth or orifice, but seemed more to spin and then pucker closed, like some sort of muscle. However, there were no lips or teeth, but fuzzy strings, cartilaginous layered strings that I believe they call baleen, for filter feeding. But there must have been some sort of voice box or vocal cords within the mouth, or perhaps in the throat because they were able to speak, and speak in my language no less. Although perhaps something around me, or even within me, something to do with the Ostium network, was translating these words for my understanding and comprehension. Of course, the voice was like nothing I'd heard at all, or anything spoken before. They had a low register of tone that sounded like it was being run through some sort of filter, making it sound a little electrical, a little artificial, and a little bit, or perhaps a lot, like something a voice being broadcast from somewhere very far away, or even from another dimension. Yet for everything going on with this unusual voice, I was still able to understand them and their intent perfectly.
Well now, who the fuck are you then?
I didn't really know what to say, what I could say, so I kept stum.
I know you're not him. Definitely not. So, who the hell are you?
The voice almost grated against my nerves, almost like nails raked across a blackboard. They were watching me with those eyes that encompassed my entire being and made it so I couldn't look away. I'm Steve.
Steve?
Yeah, just a regular old bloke, really, who heard some funny music and got sucked down a drain and ended up here, with you. And you might be? With each extra pointless word that came out of me, the more confident I grew. For some reason.
I am known by many names, across time and space, beneath the waters and above them. But the one I most answer to is Yoxall.
Wow, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? So is that a man's or a woman's name? The look they gave me then literally made me start shivering.
I do not bend to the whims of those who choose to categorize me by such primitive, ignorant codifiers. But if you must know, not that it is in any way any of your fucking business, I am neither of those antiquated human terms. And also both. Does that simplify things for you?
Not really.
Good. It wasn't fucking supposed to.
So who do you think I might be then? What other bloke were you expecting? There was that withering look again, and this time I actually felt my teeth chattering like I was freezing cold, or facing something I was simply terrified of.
I was expecting him. That despicable excuse for one of your species. The one known as Jake Fisher.
Jake? Oh, you mean the other Jake, the head honcho of this place, that wanker in charge of the Ostium network.
I know only one Jake Fisher, and he is a fucking asshole. He is the one who found me. He abducted me from my water world and brought me to this cold, distasteful purgatory.
You were taken too? By him? Like Marla?
There have been others. Others he has taken and brought to this place, against their will.
Yes, unfortunately. You're not the first. Actually, I don't know that for sure. You might be. But there have been others. Thyra, Marla. I think I was able to help them get out of here. Maybe I could help you too.
You? How?
I don't know. Maybe I can in some way. So long as you promise not to kill me, or eat me, or whatever?
Why would I wish to harm you? It is him I want to eviscerate. You I have no care about, whether you live or die.
Oh, very nice. I think it was around this point I realized that they were using a diction much like Thyra's, which meant either they were also from the planet Albion, which was bloody impossible in my mind, or...
There was some sort of translation device being used like you thought.
Yeah. My guess is still the Ostium network doing it. I don't remember anything from the many classes before mentioning it in any way, but it's the only thing that makes sense, really. What do you think, Mum?
I don't remember anything either, honey. But I think you're right. Just with the kind of archaic language they both are using. Plus, what's the chance 2 different people from somewhere else in the universe speaking the same fucking language we do?
There isn't one.
Right. I mean, Yoxall said purgatory. Do they have a Christian religious background that we don't know about? I don't think so.
Well, at least we know in the future we won't have a language barrier, just an Ostium barrier, I guess.
Ah, Jake. That was fucking terrible. Just no, not funny at all.
Then why are you smiling?
Fuck you, Jake. Just fuck you.
Maybe later.
Oi, enough of that, you two lovebirds. Can we get back to the rest of my story? That bit of music that was playing, were you the one creating it? How do you know it?
That is an interesting tale. And since I am destined only for this watery grave, I suppose I have plenty of time to regale you with the story.
Please do. At this point, I was just extremely relieved I wasn't going to be killed, and was willing to get whatever knowledge I could from them, and see if I could help in any way.
It is actually a piece of music from your world, as I'm sure you are aware. It was long ago, perhaps eons now, as time has ceased to have any meaning in this place. And I know not how long ago I was taken from my ocean planet. But one day, in the past, a strange ship passed into our atmosphere and crashed into my waters. It slowly sank through the dark depths, and I was notified before it reached its soft bottom. It landed in multiple pieces, which were each brought to me. They were made of a substance that did not exist in my world, and all seemed uninteresting and little more than scraps and waste, except for one piece. A bright, golden disk that appeared to contain much information, though I knew not how to extract that information. So I put my aids on it, to study it and eventually understand it, which they were able to do, using the other pieces we had cast aside, along with some pieces of detritus that had fallen into the oceans over time immemorial, and had likewise been collected and brought to me. I also gave my aides some magics to use, and this seemed to do it. But when the golden plate began spinning, the sound was incomprehensible. There was something not right. Then one of the aides pointed out that this object had come from another world, perhaps one where the waters did not ebb and flow supreme. So we brought it to the surface and created a special pontoon upon which it could sit. And then we set the golden plate in motion on the device that had been invented, along with my magic coursing through its wires and conduits. And we heard voices and words and statements, and then music. The music is what I found most fascinating. Much of it was a pleasure to listen to, some entrancing and hypnotic. But this piece, I would say it was like nothing I had ever heard before. But this, of course, was true for the entirety of what was on that plate. But it reached me on a level that enraptured me and made me dream of other worlds where this might be first created and composed and then played and listened to by others. It is a piece that has been with me ever since. One I comfort myself with whenever I need to feel uplifted in some way. Sadly, since I have been forced to live in this dark, dank place, I have played it much.
Clair de Lune.
What is that?
This is the name of the piece of music, Clair de Lune. It was composed by Claude Debussy, and I believe the plate you mentioned was the golden record used on the Voyager probe. Well, one of them. They were sent from our world a long time ago, in search of other life in the universe. They were meant to tell the story of our world, share our knowledge, and I suppose the best of what we're capable of as a species.
I see you too have a story to tell of it. I thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. But if you had to create a machine to play the music, how are you able to reproduce it now?
Oh, well, that is a story in itself. But in a simple sentence, I taught myself to play it. It took time, much like our learning of how to play the record. It required quite a bit of my magic, but also much practice and training on my part. Time passed, and eventually I was able to make my own sounds, and then I had to adapt my instrument and my ability to emulate the music. Much more time passed, but I eventually got to a place where I could make the music I had grown to love so much.
Would you mind demonstrating your skill? While they didn't smile or give me any noticeable facial expression, those wondrous eyes seemed to glisten, which I took as a complimentary sign.
I would be honored.
Then they stood tall, and the breathing vesicles that were somehow also gill slits began moving and twitching and flexing in all new ways. And just as I wondered what the hell was going to happen, these beautiful sounds began. It went on for a good 5 minutes, and at the end of it I could feel my cheeks wet with tears. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever heard. And also the saddest. Seeing this incredible being, Yoxall, play it with such love. but also such sorrow and loneliness. It somehow both warmed my heart and broke it in two. After some time, I was able to find my voice again and speak. That was beyond beautiful. Thank you for that.
You are most welcome. And now, alas, I must avaunt. I am being summoned to perform yet another deed which I wish I did not have to do, but must.
For him. For Jake.
Yes. It is my power. My magics he craves, for he has none, and he needs me to do his dirty work.
Bastard. There has to be some way to set you free.
I fear not.
Where do you go?
What do you mean?
When that asshole summons you to do whatever he wants you to do, where is that?
It is a place beneath the waters. A specific chamber with devices that can channel and absorb my magics. He knows I am strongest and greatest beneath the waters, and in that way, he can get the maximum result from me. And my magics conduct well through the water anyway.
How about... have you ever played your music for him?
The special piece I just played you? No, never. I would not dare.
Why not?
Because it is mine. My last little increment. That is me, of my world and past life. Something he cannot take. Something he can never have.
But that's just it. It's something he's never known, never faced before. You changed yourself, adapted to be able to create that unique music, that special sound. What if you used that along with your magics and channeled everything at the device that takes it from you? Maybe you could overload it, cause it to rupture or even fail.
Like a deep sea quake. Something earth-wrenching.
Exactly. It might not work, might do nothing, but there's also a chance it would do all those things you just said and possibly even more. Maybe it could cause, I don't know, some sort of chain reaction, and things could start breaking down, falling apart. I know for a fact the Ostium network is only an island, a small piece of land surrounded on all sides by dark, deep water. I don't know if there will ever be a way for you to get back to your water world, but this could be a way out. A freedom in the ocean depths, away from here, and most importantly, away from him.
I will have to consider this. But there is something in what you say. A chance. There is a chance. This I believe.
Good. It is of course up to you. You do what you must, what feels right for you. But I also believe in you. You told me that unbelievable story that I couldn't help believing. Just as I know you are incredibly powerful. And much more powerful than him, no matter what he's done to you. That's why he needs you, remember? Because you have what he does not, what he wants.
I must go. I thank you, Steve. You have been good. You have changed my mind a little on this world. I thank you for that.
Glad I could help a little, in whatever way I could. And best of luck to you, I suppose. Oh, and one more thing.
Yes?
Are you able to somehow send me back up the drain from where I dropped down from?
Oh, of course. It would be my pleasure.
And then, before I could close my eyes, this column of water rose around me and lifted me up, and again somehow back through the incredibly small space and back into the shower room. I was back where I'd been before, soaked to the skin, and with hope in me that Yoxall would do what they needed to do to break free.
What an incredible person Yoxall sounds like. I hope they did it.
Me too.
Yeah, I've got my fingers and toes crossed. And unfortunately, I know it's only early afternoon, but I'm going to have to call it today.
Okay, hun. Everything okay? Tired?
Yeah, it's a lot going through all this again. And the last part is... it's a lot to share. And I need to go over in my head how exactly I want to tell it.
Sounds good, Steve. Maybe take a walk, enjoy the fresh sea air and sunshine.
That sounds perfect.
The same place? Same time tomorrow?
Of course, Mum. Wouldn't miss this for the world.